And hello there, all you Stay Tuners. Welcome back to another episode of Stay Tuned Sports. This is our weekly MMA episode with your good friend Jimbo here. We had UFC Fight Night last weekend. It was a little tough for me to watch because Notre Dame was also playing, so I had my laptop set up for UFC Fight Night and Notre Dame on the big screen. From what I was reading on the internet, it seemed like there's a lot of bad decisions as far as the judges go. But there was a little bit of drama that I actually did end up being able to catch at the end of the fight. But before we get into the show, head over to Twitter, follow the show at STS Sports Podcast, as well as myself at Jimbo ST Sports, and Shoulders you can follow at STS O'Brien. Head over to Facebook, like and share our page there, as well as our YouTube channel. When you go onto our Twitter page to click the follow button, scroll down just a little bit. We have our Teespring t-shirts up. Just click that link and it'll take you right to all those shirts. I think we actually might have some hoodies design there as well, so it'd be nice if you guys bought some of the merchandise and showed your support for us. So definitely a long day for me. Stayed up late last night watching the Eagles game, so running on about 4 hours of sleep. But it is Friday. I am definitely staying up tonight. Bellator is from my understanding, there's 3 events of Bellator this weekend, which I don't understand why they would do something like that. But they got a fight tonight, fight tomorrow, and Sunday, I guess. But we also do have a UFC Fight Night on Saturday tomorrow afternoon, actually. Prelims start at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, U.S. time. Main card starts at 2 p.m. with the main event being Jack Hermanson going up against Jared Cannonier. We'll get into those a little bit later on, about my picks and stuff like that I usually do. And I mean, I will say I do like Jack Hermanson. He scares me. He strikes me as a psycho in a way. But we'll go through the card. The card looks pretty decent. Could be an interesting card. So. But like I said, and also just released today, head over to Belly Up Sports Twitter page as well. In support of breast care awareness, they came up with a t-shirt with a t-shirt company that we partnered up with, DSGN Tree. And whatever money we make, 50% of it is going to be donated to the foundation. So head over there also, and they have hoodies, t-shirts, different styles. I glanced at some of them. Some of them actually look pretty cool. I'm going to probably pick up a couple for myself and for my family. So head over there, make a purchase, show your support for that, and we much appreciate that. So getting into the show, like I said, last week we had the UFC Fight Night, Rodriguez versus Stevenson. And a lot of the decisions that went down seemed, according to Twitter, that it was a lot of bad calls, bad decisions. And I was actually looking forward to this Rodriguez-Stevens fight, and I believe I did take Rodriguez because I thought maybe Stevens was, a little bit older now. He's been in some wars, and thought I would finally catch up to him. But unfortunately, 15 seconds into the fight, Rodriguez accidentally eye poked Stevens, and Herb Dean was the ref. And now Herb Dean has been under fire recently with some of the questionable decisions that he has done as far as stoppages. But I will, before I get into the whole drama that ensued, I'll give him credit. I mean, he really did take control of the situation. Stevens couldn't open up his eye. Even when the doctor came in to look at Stevens, the doctor couldn't even open up his eyelid, and that kind of freaked me out in a way. I had the volume down when the fight started because, like I said, Notre Dame was on, so I was paying attention to that a little bit more. And when everything was going on, I actually turned it up to see what's being said, what's going on, stuff like that. And doctor said you have to call it off because he can't open up his eye. And at that point, Stevens didn't hit his 5-minute time limit yet, and Herb Dean kept saying, no, he's got 5 minutes. He take his time, take the allotted amount of time. And Stevens did. 5 minutes hit, and it even felt like, in a way, Herb Dean was trying to buy Stevens a little bit more time by politicking a little bit with the doctor. And unfortunately, doctor said no, he can't go on, can't open his eye. There's something wrong with it. It's got to be called a no contest. And soon as Herb Dean waved it off, all hell broke loose. Mexico City, the fans, not all the fans obviously, but a nice chunk of them, start throwing beer, water bottles, popcorn, anything they could into the ring. Herb Dean was ducking. It was so bad that even UFC security had to come in and escort Stevens out so he didn't get hurt. Rodriguez was celebrating like he won it, and it's a no contest. And I know I've talked about no contest past couple weeks about how they could really hurt your record and stuff like that, and how I feel that they hurt your record a little bit more than what people kind of look at as. But then videos start coming out of Michael Bisping came into the ring to interview Rodriguez, and he just Bisping didn't do anything to egg him on or anything. He just said, hey, kind of tapped him on the shoulder to say, I'm gonna give you an interview, and Rodriguez just spins around and just barks at him, like snaps at him. First off, it's Michael Bisping. He outweighs you by probably 50 pounds. And even though he has problems with his one eye, he will destroy you. He will murder you. I don't care how nuts you think you are and this and that. My money is on Bisping. Then the next day, Rodriguez and Stevens, I guess, shared the same hotel. Rodriguez even made comments in the octagon that, I've been poked in my eye before. He's basically trying to find a way out, and I fought with being poked in the eye before, but I kept going on this and that. And then the next day in the hotel lobby, the video surfaced that Rodriguez started walking up to Stevens like he was going to be cordial and talk to him, and start taking more shots at him, basically saying, that you're just trying to find a way out. And Stevenson, rightfully so, told him to get the fuck out of my face, and pushed him in a little bit of a scuffle. I mean, no punches were thrown, but, well, luckily, and I'm actually kind of glad this happened, UFC has rebooked the fight. It's going to be October 18th in Boston as a co-main event. And I'll tell you what, after watching the video, after watching how Rodriguez treated Bisping, how he came at Stevenson the next day. I hope Stevenson just lays him out. I hope he, in a way, does a Dan Henderson, Michael Bisping knockout. Even though I'm kind of liking Bisping now. You know, shut this guy up. He's been released by the UFC for turning down fights. Oh, his other comment too was that after the fight that it's going to take a long time for Stevens to fight him again because he's lower in the rankings now, and he was, you know, it was a no contest. You know, and like I said, you know, after 15 seconds, accidents do happen. I understand, you know, your emotions were probably running, but why'd you have to act that way the next day? You know, you had a one day to calm yourself down. You could reflect on what happened, but you still want to be a dick. Now, as far as the situation with the gloves, it's always an issue. It's always going to be an issue until something changes. I know fighters want to have the fingers open so it's a little bit easier to grapple, to take people down. Why can't we figure out a way to, you know, maybe just have just a little bit of the fingertips covered up with the tip of the glove and still have a little bit of your fingers bare so you could still grip? There's got to be a way that UFC and the makers of these gloves can come up with a way to stop having these fighters get injured. I mean, at least once a fight card, whether the fight is called off or just flat out stopped, eye pokes happen. At least once a card. You know, John Jones is known for because he keeps his palms open to kind of keep his distance, to feel how far away he needs to be. Stipe, I believe, did it in the second fight with Cromier. Cromier did it in the first fight. You know, it happens to everybody, and it's not just fighters being dirty. Just, you know, it does happen, but there's got to be something put in line to help make this go away. These eye pokes. But as far as the UFC fight between Rodriguez and Stevenson, you know, I'm glad that they rebooked it for October. I'm definitely gonna hopefully watch that one. I actually just thought about that now. I'm camping that weekend, same night as BKFC, which is gonna be another good pay-per-view, I believe. Now, and if I want to, you know, again, Rodriguez said about Stevens backing out of the fight, you know, he's looking for a way out of the fight. No. What Todd Duffy did, that was looking for a way out of the fight. Not 15 seconds into the match. You know, but also came out, I believe a couple days ago, that Daniel Cromiers is going to have one more fight, and pretty much this is going to be his retirement fight. No, it's not going to be against John Jones. I'm actually kind of happy about that. It is going to be the trilogy fight against Stipe, and I was calling for this even before the second fight happened, and I called it. I think they're going to make a lot more money off this fight, and if Cromier wins, this could open up the heavyweight a lot and may entice John Jones to move up, which a lot of the fans want him to move up. Now, Cromier did say he's hoping for to get on the December 14th card, but I did see yesterday that Miocic may be out for the rest of the year because of a eye injury that he suffered during the last fight. Now, if you know, Cromier was on Ariel Helwani's podcast earlier in the week, that's when he announced about this fight, that he said he's going to do one more fight and he's only interested in Stipe. He said, "I'm going to fight this guy again. My intention is to fight him in the right way. It has to be against Stipe. No one else matters." And he also said the next one will be his last. I'm glad that Daniel finally, which kind of sounds like he let go of the whole John Jones, has to have that one last fight with John Jones thing. You know, and also Cromier did say, and he made a point, he goes, you know, I did give Stipe the rematch that maybe he didn't deserve, but he gave it to him, so hopefully he is a man himself and gives it back. Now, the battle agreement is not agreed upon. Dana White came out and said that the UFC people were going over to talk to Stipe, I believe, yesterday. So maybe we'll have some news within the next couple days, but this fight will not happen till early next year. Maybe we'll get it on the Super Bowl weekend card that they usually put out. Now, how do I think how this fight will go? Listen, Cromier was beating Stipe early on, and he was doing good with his wrestling. For whatever reason, which Cromier came out and said that, you know, with his getting the phone call about his father being back in the hospital did weigh on his mind during the fight, but he's not making excuses. He got away from the wrestling, and Stipe just started going to the body and set up for the shot to the head, which ended up ending the fight. If Cromier could stick to his game plan and wrestle Stipe, I think it's going to be a long night for Stipe, and possibly could get a stoppage. Now, I kind of am rooting for Cromier, even though I'm not a fan. I mean, I always like seeing the old guy going out in a blaze of glory, and so I'm hoping he pulls this win off. If he pulls this off, obviously, once he retires, he's going to have to vacate the belt. You can't have... I just don't see why you would have Stipe coming off of two losses. I'm sorry, coming off of one loss, and going automatically right for the belt. Yeah, Francis Ngannou in the balance here. You know, he's defeated everybody behind him, so he really makes no sense to match him up with someone there. Do you set up a John Jones Ngannou fight? I think that makes sense. I mean, if John Jones moves up, he's not going to move up to fight a 15th ranked guy and work his way up. He's going to fight a top 3, at least a top 5 guy. If he fights a top 5 guy, I think he runs through it. Through that match. The top 3 guys, once Cromier is gone, I think could be a good fight. I mean, they're bigger guys. John Jones will always have the reach, but he's a little bit leaner. So, and we've seen in the past year or two how adding weight does affect the fighters in the long run as far as their cardio and stuff like that. So it will be an interesting matchup, and Ngannou has power. You know, if he could get inside and connect one of his punches with John Jones, could be lights out. So, like I said, I see this fight happening in February. It would make sense. You know, they always try to build up their last card of the year. They always try to build that up. They always try to build up the International Fight Week card in July, and they always try to build up the Super Bowl weekend fight card. And, you know, Conor may not be fighting this year. Maybe, and Dana White did say, you know, you may see him early next year. Maybe you do a, you know, Conor versus Khabib if he defeats Tony, if Tony fights Khabib. So, you know, we will see how that all plays out. BJ Penn officially was released this past week by UFC. I hope and pray Bellator, who's been kind of on a spending spree and bringing in new talent, does not sign him. I hope BKFC does not sign him. I hope BJ just gets his stuff right, gets his head right, and just stick to training. You know, be a coach. You're close to 40 years old. You have a lot of fights on your belt. You're on a 7-fight losing streak, with some of them you being just manhandled and demolished. You know, it's about time to retire. But so before we go, like I said, we have a UFC fight night this weekend. UFC fight night, Hermansson versus Cromier. Now, running down the fight card here, starting the main card off, we have Nicholas Dalby versus Alex Oliveira in the welterweight division. After that, we have Michael Oleksiejczuk versus Ovince St. Preux in the light heavyweight division. And then after that, as well as in the light heavyweight division, we have Ion Kutlaba versus Khalil Roundtree. I'll get to that in a second because I saw the face-off with that one. That was kind of interesting. Then after that, we have Gunnar Nelson versus Gilbert Burns. The co-main event is Mark Madsen versus Danilo Barrera. And then, like I said, main event is Hermansson and Cromier. So, to kick off the main card, Nicholas Dalby versus Alex Oliveira. I'm actually surprised that Alex is fighting on this card, because I thought he was in trouble with a domestic situation. Was wanted for that for a couple weeks. I just thought he didn't, turn himself in. So I'm going with Nicholas Dalby, even though Alex Oliveira is a talented fighter. But I think Dalby pulls it out. Then after them, like I said, we have Michael Oleksiejczuk versus Ovince St. Preux. Ovince St. Preux, to me, is a gatekeeper. You know, he did fight John Jones a few years back, and I mean, he just got demolished. But he is a talented fighter. Has power, has submissions. We're going to go with him. But I think this one may go to a decision. And, hopefully St. Preux pulls it off and maybe throws out a couple names above him to get back into that title race. After them, we have Ion Kutlaba versus Khalil Roundtree Jr. So in the face-off today, Roundtree was already standing there waiting for Ion to come up to him, and Ion kind of like charged at him and did this like Hulk smash scream to him, and Roundtree had the face like you remember the RCA speakers commercial where he turns the volume on, his hair gets blown back and he's kind of sitting back. That was kind of like what Roundtree's face was, and once he got done screaming, he just started laughing. But I'm gonna go with Roundtree with this one. He just looks like the better fighter. I think he grounds this one out to a decision. After that, we have Gunnar Nelson versus Gilbert Burns in the welterweight division. I actually like Gunnar Nelson. I'm surprised he's not more in the talk to get in the top 5, top 3. Maybe with another win or two, maybe he gets into that discussion. I think Gunnar's going to pull this out with a submission. And then after that, we have the co-main event. Mark Madsen makes his UFC debut versus Danilo Barrera. Madsen, I think I saw somewhere he's 11-0 in MMA. He's 12-0 as an amateur. He's an Olympic wrestler, and we've been seeing lately that wrestling is kind of the new thing now, with Habib, Daniel Cromier. So I think we may see him try to, if he's smart, being in your debut, take the guy down. Stick to your strong points. Don't try to be Michael Pereira, whatever his name was from 2 weeks ago, jumping around, and because that's what he's known for and stuff like that. Stick to your strong game. Take him down. Ground and pound like Tito used to do, and Randy Couture and all of them. Then for the main event, we have Jack Hermanson versus Jared Cannonier. I think Hermanson pulls this out. This should be a good fight all the way through. Could be a fight of the night candidate. Cannonier, the only really big name fighter I know that he defeated was Anderson Silva, and Silva's been past his prime for a few years now. Hermanson has beat a lot of good guys. So I think we're going to see a knockout here, especially being in the middleweight division. So I'm going with Hermanson here with a knockout. Round 2 we'll go with. So that's going to be it for this week. We'll be back next week. I'll give my recap of the fight night fights and stuff like that. But before we go, head over to Twitter. Follow the show at ST Sports Podcast. Follow myself at Jimbo ST Sports. Shoulders is STS O'Brien. Head over to Facebook and YouTube. Like and subscribe. Share. Follow us on iTunes, Spotify, all those. We would much appreciate it. And, any type of comments you got, whether it's good, bad, you're critiquing us, we would appreciate it. So, till next week, this is your good friend Jimbo, signing out.